So what is the law on dog ID tags in the UK? Firstly, all dogs, when in a public situation, so that is in the car going to a public place, they should still have their ID tag on, or even in your garden. That is a public situation. Technically, I know it's private, but if they get out of your garden, they are then in a public place. So they need a dog tag on them at all times, unless they are locked or put away in your house. On that dog tag, by law since 1992, under the Control of Dogs Act, you need to have your surname and your postcode. Since this was done in 1992, a telephone number was optional but is now a necessity and should be on your dog ID tag. There is a bit of speculation as to whether you should have your dog's name on it. I am against this. If someone was to steal your dog and is doing their research and has come to the park, has given your dog a nice cuddle, called it over, and they've seen your dog's name, then they can call it over the next day and literally just grab it on a lead and off you go. So I would advise against putting your dog's name on an ID tag. Dogs are meant to be out and about. All of these have ID tags on them. These are my doggy daycare group, but I wouldn't be taking them out and about if they didn't have some form of identification and knowing that they all come back. So what do I have on my dog's ID tags? I have my surname, I have my full address so that they know exactly where to bring my dog back to me if they ever go missing, which they haven't, and my home number and my mobile number. So there's two forms of contact if they are unable to reach me. If I'm out looking for my dog, I'm unable to be reached at my home address, at my home number, because I'm out looking. So they should be contactable on my mobile number. Hence I put both. I've also put the fact that he's chipped, both of them are chipped, as is the new law, and microchipped, and that they're both neutered. Dog thieves tend to go for dogs that are unneutered because they can be used for, obviously, stud dogs. That's not what you want. Dogs with their dogs still intact, obviously tend to have high levels of testosterone and make it easier for them to fight because they're slightly more prone to aggression because of the testosterone. None of these are prone to aggression. Some people think that because their dog is chipped, microchipped, that they do not need a collar or they do not need an ID tag on their dog. Mistake. If your dog is found to not have an ID tag on your dog in a public place, you can be fined up to £5,000, and that is not a chunk of money you want to see come out of your bank account. I haven't heard of it actually ever happening, but it's not a risk you want to take. The microchip will have all of the same details that the ID tag has on it, but it is literally implanted into the dog's skin. So it's not simply, if the dog is stolen, it can't literally take the collar off and it's just a dog with no ID. That dog will always have some form of identification on it because of the ID chip that is embedded in its skin. Dogs that wear harnesses out on walks, they still need to have an ID tag on them, or at least have a collar on them as well. It's not a case of, well, my dog's got this so it can't have this. It needs it. If your dog goes missing, how are you going to get that dog back? Were you relying on the fact that your microchip details are up to date and that some kind soul is going to bring your dog back to you before someone steals it? Hey. For the safety of your dogs and to make sure that they stay with you where they're meant to, please make sure your dogs have a dog ID tag with all the necessary details on them to make sure they come home to you if they ever get lost. Your name, your surname, your full address and contact numbers so that someone can get hold of you as soon as possible if they found your dog. Alright, don't forget to subscribe for me and I'll see you on the next video. Bye guys.